You're listening to the Fezcast, the Saracens fans podcast, bringing you the independent and unhinged views of the voices in our heads, as well as those of our special guests. To get in touch with us, find the Fezcast on social media and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube and more. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy this week's show.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, hello everybody, welcome to the Fezcast, and I mean, what are we going to talk about this week? I mean, not too many, 724 tries and God knows what else. It's a absolutely bumper show we've got for you today. And joining me is Duncan, who's been down to Ampthill and done some interviews down in Ampthill. We've got Sam is joining us as well. And Craig Doyle's best mate, Loxy, who refuses to play ball with Craig Doyle and winds him up. So welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the Fezcast this week. I mean, yeah, such a lot going on, Sam, this weekend. Plenty to look forward to talking about, eh?
Very much so, yes.
First up, I spoke to Hugh Godwin of the I paper last week. He was doing a big article about Owen Farrell and how Owen's developing as a coach, which... really lovely chatting to you, and I thought it was a good article as well, obviously made by my comments, Loxy, which were, I thought my quotes were very good, weren't they? Better than yours to Craig Doyle, anyway.
I didn't play along with Craig's agenda, which was entirely my agenda, so I was quite happy. But yes, I did think that Hugh did enjoy your quotes, and I'm sure they were very helpful to him.
I'm just glad he didn't put the one in about Andy Good and Chris Jack that I mentioned, Duncan, because that would have been quite embarrassing, really. I probably ended up with the Fezcast being sued more than likely.
Well, he didn't put in a load of stuff you normally say about Owen Farrell, you two-faced git.
Hey, hang on a second. I've got a copy of this to get signed tomorrow when I'm down at Old Albanians by Owen, so well, it won't have got out by then. But look, the other thing to mention is, obviously, Loxy, I'll let you talk about this. Next week, there's an online event on the 29th of April from the SSA, and you're looking for people to get involved in this, aren't you?
Yeah, we'd like some questions. Duncan's going to compare it in the usual brilliant style that he does. So, if there's anything that you'd like to ask Louis Johnson or Hugh Tizard or Fergus Burke or Akina Gondway or Liz Craik or Bryony Field, and that's a heck of a collection of people there. It's a good job Hugh Tizard's there, otherwise I think Fergus would be swamped by all those lady front row forwards, but there you go, he probably might have enjoyed that. So if you've got any questions, put them in through any means possible, any of the SSA's media, on any platform, anything through to the Fezcast. If you're an SSA member, reply to Mark Calaby's email. We don't mind how we get them, as long as we get them and get a lot of them. So there's a lot of people there. I mean, there's some real stories there. I mean, Liz Craik's recall to England colours after, her really bemoaning her central contract loss. There's just one little taste. I'm sure there's plenty of things we might want to ask her. So, yeah, fire away with the questions, as many as you can.
And if you are an SSA member, of course, reply to the email and make sure that you attend it online.
Well, that's something to look forward to. We'll take a break there and then we'll come back now, discuss very briefly Women's Six Nations, because as much as it was a great weekend for England women in particular, and one of our players in particular, we've got so much to get through, so we'll have a break and then we'll come back and talk about that.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Hello, this is Akina Gondway of Saracens Women, and you're listening to the Fezcast, and we are both proudly sponsored by the Saracens Supporters Association. For a £10 annual subscription to the SSA, you'll get the chance to buy tickets for away matches, receive a regular newsletter, and an exclusive SSA badge. They also arrange pre-match gatherings and player-coach events. As well as sponsoring both me and the Fezcast, they also sponsor Louis Johnson from the men's team and the Saracens Foundation Track Club. Not bad for £10. You can join up at membermojo.co.uk/SSA. Enjoy the rest of this edition of the Fezcast, and I look forward to seeing you at StoneX. Come on, you Sarries.
This is the Fezcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fezcast, and time to talk Women's Six Nations. 3 games on the weekend. The wins were as expected. France were expected to beat Wales, Ireland were expected to beat Italy, and England were expected to beat Scotland. Two things that came from it, Wales and Scotland, just been disappointed. The World Cup, Wales have come on, but when you're playing against 13 players against France, as they were for quite a period of the game, Sam, you expect a lot more from them than what we saw, don't you?
They have kicked on, and they've got some good younger players coming through. But yeah, it's the age-old adage, isn't it? You know, if you're down to 14, 13, it's going to really take a toll eventually.
But the team that really has gone back is definitely Scotland. The week before, the writing should have been on the wall, but to ship as many points as they did against England in a massive game for them at Murrayfield in front of a world record crowd for a Scottish women's international. I mean, they've got to walk off that field hugely disappointed in the performance they put in, don't they?
It is a shame. I was watching the game out of the corner of my eye in the bar at Ampthill, and then I caught up with the highlights. But it was great to see that crowd. But what a shame, really, that they got so thoroughly beaten by England. I mean, you'd expect them to get beaten by England, but it really, to see a thumping like that is not good for the women's game.
No, it isn't, is it, Loxy? I mean, let's be honest about it. I mean, England were where they were a bit rusty the week before, and they were still talking about England potentially being a bit rusty coming into this game, particularly as they'd had to make a lot of changes with some injuries. I would have to say, from a Saracens point of view as well, get well soon to May Campbell, who obviously is out injured now. But England were clinical and cynical, I think, in their execution. And a lot of that came from the player that we felt perhaps should have started last week, that did start this week. Zoe Harrison is just world class. You know, you look at her and everything that England did well on Saturday came from her pivot, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. James, another contributor to the Fezcast and also my colleague on SSA Media, we've both got a beef with the BBC commentary team's attitude towards Zoe in a way, and particularly Katie Daly-McLean, who, as a former fly half, I thought would have been more sympathetic. But we've got another thing here where her game was probably more reminiscent of Zoe's main rival. The one thing that I think people leave out, we see Zoe carry the ball beautifully. We see her lovely long passes and her game management and fabulous kicking. I mean, she kicks better than most of the men do. I mean, from the tee and from hand. Her kicking from hand's phenomenal, the length and the accuracy of it. But it's her tackling. Scotland would have been up in that game if not for her very brave defence. Now, for the Saracens supporters who've gone and watched Saracens women more than a few times will have noticed the incredible tackling of Lottie Sharp, who hits about 4 times her weight with tremendous technique. Zoe is exactly the same. She's quite a hard nut in contact. Jess Breach certainly would need to thank her because she bailed her out a couple of times in that game. But I don't hear about this stuff. I mean, I hear people mentioning the obvious stuff. She should have been player of the match in that match. She didn't even get onto the shortlist. I was absolutely astounded. James and I said with that particular panel, she won't get a look in. And we were dead right too. So whatever the problem is there, I don't know what it is, but there is no problem with the brilliant Zoe Harrison. And after all, she was the one who helped us win the World Cup, wasn't she?
The thing with Zoe Harrison is that perhaps she falls into the element of that she is exceptionally good at all aspects of the game, which I don't think any other standoff in women's world rugby is at that same standard. And it's almost the same thing, you know, I'm going to mention Owen Farrell here, where Owen Farrell at his pomp. Owen Farrell could do everything at 97%. His kicking game was great. His distribution game was great. His tackling, his defensive work was great. But it was always one consistently really high. But he couldn't do what Marcus Smith does dancing through tackles, or he can't do what George Ford does with spotting a gap, whatever. But what his all-round game is just absolutely superb. Johnny Wilkinson was another one the same. Dan Carter was another one the same. It's that all-round game that makes it. And Zoe Harrison is, when you talk about horses for courses, she's a horse for every course.
Can I just say that Owen Farrell is every bit as good as George Ford is now at spotting a gap? based on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, she's just superb. I mean, as I say, I only watched the highlights. I think 80% of the highlights had Zoe Harrison in the picture, as you say, especially her kicks. Just amazing.
The other players who were mentioned and perhaps didn't get the accolades, I thought Sadia Kabaya on the flank was superb. I thought the young girl who came in for a debut had a really solid debut. Abby Burton playing in the second row, not second row, she was great. And Emma Singh as well. I mean, she was, she made yards and yards and yards and yards. So the fact is that any of those players could have got that. They were so good. But the fact that Zoe wasn't mentioned even in dispatches, Sam, is a bit of a concern.
Just a smidge. It's that model of consistency. That is the standard, isn't it?
Right, we'll stop there, and then after the break, we'll come back, and Duncan can tell us all about his day out at Ampthill in the forest, where, if you go down into the woods today, be very afraid because you might see Duncan.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to our next part of the Fezcast, and we're going to have a quick chat about Ampthill because Duncan decided to take himself out into leafy Buckinghamshire, Bedfordshire. What is it? Bedfordshire? It's Bedfordshire, isn't it?
It's Bedfordshire, yeah.
To go and see some of our youngsters playing who made a really good account of themselves for Ampthill, which I know a lot of people are complaining about. We seem to be giving Ampthill a lot of Saracens players that are helping them, but that's the way it is. You've got to play who's put up against you. And our lads did all right on the weekend, didn't they, Duncan?
They did brilliantly. We've talked before about what a great day out Ampthill is. You have your chicken and ham pie with a few pints, then you wander up through the woods, as you say. And on a sunny day, it's absolutely brilliant. And then on top of that, what is fantastic at the moment is the style of play that Ampthill are playing. They are doing a very good Northampton Saints impersonation in that way that they are attacking very, very quickly when they get going. And if you want to compare and contrast with Saracens, we had some obviously brilliant attacking play on Sunday against Sale, but it's often passing backwards, isn't it? Or it's thumping through the middle or what have you. Ampthill seem to have that style of going forward quickly and sort of passing round the players in front in this very, very quickly in the way that you see Northampton and at times Bath and Exeter and Bristol doing. And it was great to watch. And we'll hear in the interviews a little bit later, I had a word with Dave Ward, the head coach, with Richard Barrington and with Luke Davidson. And I asked two of them whether that was coming from the Ampthill coaches or the Saracens coaches or both. And they said both, but in particular mentioned James Tyrrell, who's one of our young coaches and who is apparently in charge of the attack at Ampthill, as well as being the liaison between Ampthill and Saracens. So it's interesting to see that style that we're all hoping Saracens to adopt being played at Ampthill and being instituted in no small degree by a Saracens coach.
Oh, excellent. Well, let's play the interviews in there, Duncan, and then we'll have a quick discussion about that after we've heard from yourself in leafy Bedfordshire.
Well, I'm delighted to be here with Richard Barrington. Richard, how's it going?
I'm all well, thank you very much. After that great performance, even happier.
It was a really brilliant performance, and you were looking very sprightly, especially as the team is very attractive to watch, very fast team at the moment.
No, definitely. The weather conditions have changed up, and boys are really enjoying themselves, ball in hand and running around. And we've earned the right to do that from running hard at the start, and then these holes can appear, and then executing that. So looking all good.
And you weren't on at the time. It was a bit ominous with their first drive, led to a penalty try. But after that, the guys seemed to deal with it. I mean, can you give us a bit of insight as to how a team can be that good on a drive and then you put a stop to it?
So Coldy are a good championship team. They're a massive set piece. They're difficult to stop a set piece. They've got an incredible home record. I don't think they've only lost one or two up there. So we know Coldy have got set piece and they're strong boys. And it's just trying to nullify that and going one above and trying to put some pressure on them. And I thought in the first half we probably let them get into the game with their driving more, and then we fixed a few things after the yellow card. And then we kind of kicked on in the second half then when the bigger boys got tired and scored some amazing tries.
You certainly did. I mean, the second half, very dominant and, as I say, very attractive to watch. And you the younger half of a front row in the second half with James Johnson coming on as well.
Yeah, no, definitely at Sarries. Me and James Johnson played in 2013, so 13 years later. I think he's 41 and I'm 36, 37. So we're definitely a bit different players there, but we come on to scrum. And there wasn't many scrums, but JJ and myself enjoy running rugby every so often, especially in the sun.
And as I say, you were both looking good. There was one particular tackle you made right in front of me that was quite crucial. One of their faster players was getting through and you were right on him.
To be fair, they're still fighting the old chicken now. Is it the old chicken? I don't know what to say, but...
How's the body holding up at 36?
No, it's good. I am still coaching at Sarries, so I do use their recovery facilities quite a lot.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because I got down to see an under-20 game. And how did you view, how did you, part of the coaching setup there, view the season? It was third place overall, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. There was a few games we should have beaten Bath at the start of the season, but probably a true reflection of that we were probably the third best team in that league. In that game, Bristol were incredible. I think they've retained 13 of them players. Bath also every year. They've got good coaches down there. They've got good setup. We've obviously got good coaches and good setup at Saracens. We've got a new calibre of players coming in this year, so it's about getting them ready for it and seeing how well we can bring out of them.
A lot of them are looking very promising.
No, we've really tasteful backs this year. Got a few big forwards. Just got to do a bit more coaching and get them in the right place. I'm looking forward to the new start of the Academy League in August.
Well, we're looking forward to that as well. So thanks once again for having a word and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
I'm here with Luke Davidson, who's played number 10 today for Ampthill and, of course, is one of the young Saracens players here. And thanks for talking to us, Luke, because I gather you got a good smack in the mouth, which is making talking a little bit difficult at the moment.
Oh, no worries. Happy to chat with you.
You played number 10 today, and of course you've got Finn Keylock, who's also, I think you both play 15 and 10, don't you?
Exactly.
Do you get the automatic first call between the two of you to play 10?
We're really easy. I mean, we just want to be part of the team and play. So whether it's 10 or 15, I mean, it's easy for us to change between the two. So we both enjoy playing together and working side by side. So it's very exciting to play with them.
And there seemed to be a little bit of that in the second half when Finn would come into the number 10 position and you were swapping over quite fluidly, I think.
Exactly. We're super interchangeable. You know, when he's there, his eyes are up and he makes a call when he's involved, and then I assume the 15 role. So we just chop and change. It's quite easy. So it's nice to have another playmaker who can do a great job at 10.
And it keeps the other side guessing, I should imagine, yeah.
Exactly, keeps the fence guessing.
It was not just a great win for you today, but a great style of win. The style of play that Ampthill are playing at the moment, very quick, very attacking, very fluid. It must be fun to play in that kind of setup.
I know, I think we play our best rugby when we're enjoying it, and we're playing a really exciting brand of rugby as well. So yeah, we're scoring from all over, and it's like backs combining with forwards, vice versa, and like forwards are going over, backs are going over. So yeah, honestly, we're just really enjoying our rugby at the moment. We're feeding off each other, backs and forwards wise. We're combining really well, finding good cohesion, and we're playing an exciting brand of rugby. So we want to get the fans down to watch because, you know, hopefully every weekend we're scoring some great tries. It
certainly is great to watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Is that coming from the Ampthill coaches? I know the Saracens coaches come here a lot. Is it sort of cross-working between the two of them? How is that brand evolving?
I think it's a bit of both. Obviously, JT's at Sarries, but he runs our attack here. But we have some class players at Ampthill as well that, you know, are stepping up in the backs and in the forwards that just bolster our squad, and they're really putting their hand up every single week. So, I mean, I think it's a combination of the two. We're working well alongside each other. And honestly, like everyone every week puts their hand up, and it's really exciting to come down here and play every week because, you know, we really come together as a team. So every single weekend, it's a joy to play here.
Brilliant. For you at your level as a young player, it must be a good opportunity to play here in the championship and play against some pretty tough players.
100%. I mean, like, it's super physical every single week. It's a battle. I mean, regardless of who you're playing, every dog has their day in the champ, so you have to be up for every single game. So it definitely takes a toll on the body, especially being in the firing line at number 10. I mean, today especially, it took a few shots, so body's probably going to feel a bit sore in the morning. But it's invaluable to play here at Ampthill. It's a great club to play for, and yeah, hopefully it's onwards and upwards. We got Notts next week Friday, so hopefully another win.
And I can see that top lip coming up before my eyes, by the way. But you also played for Saracens in the Prem Cup. How did the two levels of competition compare?
I mean, it's really good. You're playing against Premiership sides who, sometimes are putting out their first team. So you're playing against some really quality players in the Prem Cup. So every opportunity as a young player is a learning opportunity wherever you're playing. I mean, the most important thing is to get minutes under your belt and learn from the players around you. The experienced players in the Sarri squad during Prem Cup, the experienced players here at Ampthill, the coaches. I mean, you can take a bit of everything from both camps and implement that into your game, and it only makes you a better player. So it's just about being a sponge. Wherever you're playing, what position, no matter what team it is, if it's Sarri's in the Prem Cup or here at Ampthill, you just soak it up and learn, and then implement that to your game, and hopefully you get better and better every week, and you just try to build consistency from that.
Well, thanks for talking, Luke, and really looking forward to seeing you in the future, whether here at Ampthill and hopefully down at Saracens as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate. I'm here with Dave Ward, who's head coach at Ampthill. Dave, thanks very much for giving us a couple of minutes. That was a really attractive, fast, attacking brand of rugby. And I wondered whether that's something that's coming from you or something you've worked out in conjunction with the Saracens coaches. Where's it coming from?
Yeah, look, I think it's a bit of both. I think probably for the first 20 minutes it didn't look like that, but certainly the last 60 minutes of the game, it certainly opened up into that. And look, I've got to give a lot of credit to James Tyrrell. Obviously, his work across both the Ampthill squads and the Saracens squads, he does a fantastic job in bringing players in, getting them up to speed, and probably playing a bit of a hybrid of the way, I suppose, that Ampthill want to play, but also taking a lot of the stuff from Saracens, let's be honest, because Saracens do play a fantastic game, brand of rugby, and if we can emulate that in any way, we're pretty happy.
I think you're doing it better, to be honest.
Not sure about that.
I don't want to put you on the spot there. But what are the advantages and also the disadvantages of having to have Saracens players coming in and out of the squad?
Look, I don't think there's too many disadvantages from my perspective, because they're professional, they're great guys, first and foremost. Like, I've got to know most of them now. I've got a rapport with them. Like, I messaged Angus to say well done on getting the bench. I think he's been superb for us recently, and I'm really happy, and I hope he gets some game time tomorrow. So I think from that perspective, like, we're just really happy to facilitate their Saracens learning, I suppose, and getting them game time, and also be part of what we're trying to grow here at Ampthill. Like, we know that we're not the finished article by any stretch. We want to crack on into the champ and be, a force to be reckoned with. And having players of those calibre come in and buy into what we're doing, it's not only special for us, but it's special for them as well. I think, Angus, Jack, they've loved their time at Ampthill. It's not what they're going to be forever, obviously. They're high-quality players who want to go on one day, probably play for England. But I think if we're a small step in their journey, then we can, take a little bit of pride from that.
I can see why Jack Bracken's been scoring so many tries in this setup. It must have been absolutely perfect for him over the recent month or so.
Yeah, massively. And one of our keys is to get our back three the most carries in the team. The stats reports comes out every Saturday, Sunday night. And one of the biggest things we look at is, passes made, offloads made, but then obviously who our main carriers are. And it's been Angus and Jack over the last few weeks. And that's credit again to them, but obviously to the guys on the inside. Fraser, Sione have done a fantastic job in the midfield with Luke steadying the ship at 10. So, and he's another Saracens guy that I'm sure that there'll be Saracens supporters excited about over the next few years about, putting on that black shirt.
Totally. And it must be great for players like Javon Warren playing in a position where they've got Richard Barrington and James Johnson to work with them.
Yeah, massively. And I think, that, again, credit goes to, I suppose, Paul Turner for building this squad initially, because these guys realise who they're scrummaging against every week in training, not just who they're scrummaging with. And I think that's a massive strength of ours. The level of training, the level of intensity we can get because of the quality of player we've got is a huge advantage. And look, today you mentioned it. I got, Rich Barrington and James Johnson. I think there was 6 European Cups running onto the pitch at the end, which is a huge, not just in experience, but obviously they can take the game away from the opposition at set piece. So guys like JV doing a great job, and I'm sure he'll just continue to grow.
And they're looking sprightly, your second half front row, aren't they?
Well, when JJ makes a 60-metre break, I'm like, okay, JJ, maybe a couple more years. But one thing I love about JJ is his attitude, his head down, and his team first. And I think I can, there's a few guys in his position who will be like, he's seen there, been there, done that, and he's probably, wouldn't be like the way he is, but he's absolutely all for the lads. He doesn't complain, he cracks on, and like I said, he does his job when he gets on the pitch.
Well, congratulations on the win, congratulations on the style of the win, and thanks very much for talking to us.
No worries. I'm looking forward to Sale vs Saracens tomorrow.
Hey, it's Charlie Hodgson, and you are listening to the Fezcast.
This is the Fezcast.
Well, yeah, Duncan, some really good interviews there. I mean, obviously you had a great day out. You didn't imbibe too many of the the sherbets, obviously, because you seem reasonably lucid in your interviews there. But I'll go back to the discussion I had with Hugh Godwin for the I Weekend paper. And, James Tyrrell's name was brought up alongside coaching, obviously being in charge of the Prem Rugby Cup team, along with Rob Webber and Owen being part of it. And, he's obviously got the right attitude, the right desires and the right plan going forward, hasn't he?
Yeah. Can I just say that when I was editing those interviews, I was extremely proud of myself because they were all done after 4 stouts. I'm so proud of the fact that you couldn't spot it. I can tell you.
Or we're just too polite to mention it.
You and politeness, Jez, does not go in the same sentence. I do promise you. Can I just say that all of the Saracens boys looked really, really good. There was that interesting relationship between Luke Davidson and Finn Keylock, where they're swapping over as they go about things between 10 and 15. Javon Warren, who's learning from both Richard Barrington and James Johnson up front. I mean, I bet you can't get 2 better mentors than that. Sylvester played really, really well. A couple of names that might be interesting to watch. They're not Saracens players at the moment. A very good-looking Samoan centre who's 26 years old, Viono Kola or something. I'm terrible with Samoan names.
You're not very good with English ones, to be honest with you.
But he's interesting. Of course, they're playing Caldy, so you don't know how he would do against Premiership opposition, but I bet they're going to have a close look at him. And a young player, I think he's just out of university, doing a Henry Pollock impersonation, both in terms of hairstyle and the way he plays. I think doing the Henry Pollock impersonation was the reason why he got kicked to pieces and thumped to pieces in the first 5 minutes. But the wonderfully named Ollie Malarkey. So it's an easy name to remember. Keep an eye on him. I would not be surprised if he started to pop up playing for Saracens.
You mentioned that with your inability to deal with names and everything. Are you doing the Saracens kit now, and are you responsible for Noah Kalori's spelling mistake?
I didn't even spot it. It looks all right to me.
Well, you didn't care about it too much, did you? But no, I mean, it's great. I mean, we've been talking recently, haven't we, Sam, about the fact that we question why players, when we want to see them playing for Saracens, have been playing down at Ampthill. But clearly, when we discussed the performance from Sunday by the Saracens men, it's done them the world of good. It's competitive rugby. Okay, it's not Premier level rugby, but it's competitive and they're learning their trade. And when you don't have an A-team league or anything like they used to, these lads are coming down, getting confidence playing in a team that's playing some really good expressive rugby, which could only benefit Saracens. And whilst we're saying we want to see these boys playing for Saracens, it's not been as bad an idea as perhaps we thought it has been.
I personally think it's a fantastic relationship and partnership that we've got with them. I've been down a couple of times earlier in the year because it's not a million miles away from where I am. And they're getting around. Like I say, there's no A-League. It's competitive. It's good competition. And they're getting minutes. And this is the important thing. We're all saying we want to see these youngsters in the 23, in the first team. They're actually getting valuable minutes and learning the trade. They do play. It's some lovely attacking stuff there. It's interesting that you mentioned Duncan Kennedy Sylvester. He's been solid pretty much all season for them. If you look at the team of the week that the championship put out, their own social media feed, he's been in it more often than not this year, and he was in it again this week. So, yeah, it's good that they're learning in a competitive nature. It's only going to help them in good stead, isn't it? I mean, look at Charlie Bracken. It was there a lot of the time, last year, the year before that, and it does them no harm. It's really, really good, and I for one, really like it. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, Sylvester had another really good game, really solid, as you say. Luke Davidson, he's very much got an 18 or 19-year-old body. He's quite a slight lad. Before he really gets into the Premiership, he's got to bulk up a bit, which will come. It always comes once they hit about 20. But so I spoke to him afterwards. He made reference to his fat lip, and it must be really brave because he's in there with an 18 or 19-year-old body getting bashed left, right, and centre, but he's still holding his own.
that shows some bottle, doesn't it? And I mean, that's half of it as well, isn't it? And we'll discuss some things about having bottle and how you come back from stuff when we talk about the Sale game. But yeah, I mean, what did you take from it, Loxie? I mean, what's your viewpoint?
I'm glad they're working with Dave Ward. I've got a lot of respect for him. I mean, if you want a good mentor who's not too far off a playing career himself, I see Dave very much in the same mould as Rob Webber, not just because they were both hookers. They're both very similar men. They've got similar sort of motivational talents. He did a fantastic job with Bristol Bears women who've never been the same since he left, quite frankly. And he's got a wife who plays very well for the Red Roses as well. Kennedy Sylvester's an interesting one. When they get to a situation when they get a friendly game, he tends to only be on the bench, which disappoints me because I've never actually seen the lad play a single minute's bad rugby. He's a good, solid, all-round player. He could probably just be a tiny bit bigger for the position he plays, but he's very good. But do I think it's a good thing? Oh, you bet I do. I mean, I don't really want it to become naughty boy nets for Noah Kalori. I mean, I hope the club's learned its lesson after the strictures from the Fezcast and all of us involved with it, and me online as well. So, yeah, it's somewhere where people can actually develop, and I think it's better. The opposition is better than the old A-League as well. I mean, when you think that we couldn't beat people like Coventry in pre-season with our best team, you know, there's some decent teams you can play up against there.
Yeah. So as you say about Noah, I mean, I think as well, the club learning from that and not using it as a naughty boy thing. Hopefully Noah's learned from it as well, and perhaps the reasons why they decided to put it in that direction have come home and made decision. And given by how he went on Sunday, I think that's probably right, isn't it, Duncan?
Yeah. If I could just give a shout out to Kevin Miller, who looks after the press there at Ampthill for organising it for us. But it was interesting speaking to him during the game because obviously he sees every single Ampthill game and he's seen Noah Kalori, Tobias Elliott, Angus Hall, Jack Bracken all playing for Ampthill over the last couple of years. He said, in his opinion, the best of the lot of them in terms of the all-round game hasn't necessarily got a super skill in being able to fly about 4 miles high. But he said the best all-round game, in his opinion, was Tobias Elliott.
Probably because Tobias can play across that back three and probably into the centres as well. But it's going to be interesting to see how these lads develop. Well, that was really good, Duncan. Let's have a break there and then we'll come back and talk about the Enya game. So sail away. I do it every year, Duncan. Don't worry. It's always the same joke.
I hear it every year.
This is the Fezcast.
Hands up here now. I mean, you can't see it. We're on radio. Let's hands up. Who expected us to even go to Sale and win? I mean, we know you didn't, Loxie, because, I mean, you told Craig Doyle as much. A win was going to be a bonus, wasn't it? I think, you know, you go to someone like Sale. Yes, I know Sale are having a worse season they've had in a long time. But to turn up the Sale, and let's be honest about it, most of the Sale, I don't know what beach they were on, but presumably it's the one in Jaws. Is it Amity? Is it Amity in Jaws? Because they were on that beach and they got completely and utterly taken apart, didn't they? We found a bigger boat and we hit them with it, didn't we, Duncan?
We did. All of those teddy bears lined up behind Loxie have got their hands up there, I can see. But I mean, there were two elements to it. There was they've got a terrible injury crisis on Sale, but the bigger aspect to it was the complete lack of desire, wasn't it? And you could see it with the very first try from Roti. I mean, he's brilliant, Roti, and he's really strong, but he should not have got through those 7.5 tackles, should he?
No,
and it set the tone for the rest of the game. Now, having said that, good on our fellas because they could have had the same attitude problem, and we've had suspicions that they've had an attitude problem like that in certain games this season, but they clearly decided that they're going to try and defeat the odds and our expectations this season and make a go of it, and good on them.
I mean, that brings me to the first player that I really want to discuss, Sam, because a player that's taken a little bit of grief from us over the last few weeks. I think on our WhatsApp group, when we realised that Elliot Daly was out, we all went, oh, God, that's going to be Max Malins at fullback. And players could do one of two things. They can either listen to the chat that's going around and let it affect them negatively, or they could do what Max has done. albeit that he perhaps hasn't got that bit of pace that he had previously. But I think it was Austin Healey mentioned it in commentary. He said he's playing a bit like Alex Good did towards the end of his career, of Alex's career. And certainly Max Maynard is nowhere near the end of his career like Alex was, but he's using his brain a little bit. And in this game, he used his brain very well. And I mean, he was integral to an awful lot of what Saracens did really, really well. Okay, I mean, he was like Moses with the pie in the sea at one point, wasn't he? I mean, he still had to exploit those gaps that were shown to him, and he did.
He had a really solid game. I thought he had his best game since, the first month of the season, where he started really well. He was playing at 15. He's had a lot of injuries and some bad injuries as well, and he's lost that pace, but he's got the smarts, and he used that to his advantage yesterday. And he was involved in a lot of the good stuff that we did yesterday. So, yeah, it was lovely to see. Let's hope it continues over the next couple of weeks against teams that haven't dialed it in yet.
Well, I mean, obviously we've got a big game coming up and we'll discuss that in a minute. But, I mean, I wanted to move on and talk about, well, Sam, I think it was you who posted it, wasn't it? But I'll ask Loxy about it. Rugby Pass put their scores out. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think they might have been drinking 2 to every one of Duncan's stouts on the weekend. Because, I mean, go home, you are drunk, aren't you? I mean, you sit there, a team's put 85 points on, admittedly on a team that just wasn't there, but you still got to score those points. And yet the only player who got anything more than 9 was Noah Kalori. I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean, and Marcus Street I think he got a 6.5. Marcus Street is, like we were saying about Zoe Harrison, I don't know whose cornflakes Marcus is weeding, but he's upset somebody somewhere, because I thought Marcus Street had a really, really good game. Got Christoph Ridley on side, Billy Dawes, won a couple of scrum penalties that maybe shouldn't have done. I don't know. I mean, Christoph's the man on the scene, and he's the man with a whistle in his hand, and he's one with his eyes on it. But Marcus presented the right picture at scrum time, and in the loose, he makes his tackles, and he's a willing runner. I mean, I think he's been one of the finds of the season for us, an exceptionally good purchase from Exeter Chiefs.
Yeah, he's a brilliant player. I think anybody who's listened to this podcast knows I'm a big Marcus Street fan. And I will get annoyed when he gets apparently overlooked. I mean, let's think of it in a couple of points of view. In the comments, which didn't seem to match up to the scores, which was a point that was covered in our discourse, I think, and they really didn't. You know, they said Nick Tompkins played well and gave him the worst score out the lot. So, you know, there wasn't a lot of corollary between the actual text and the scores. But they said Rhys Carre scrummaged well. Yes, Rhys Carre does. But, I mean, the corollary also is that the bloke on the other side must be contributing to that in some small degree, or actually to some great degree. Now, we all know that when Dutoit came on for Bath, suddenly Rhys had a worse time, but his coming on coincided with Marcus going off. I will keep going on about this, that Rhys scrummages much better when he's got Marcus with him than Marco, with all due respect to Marco. I don't know what it is. It's very difficult if you don't know what you're looking at to know what a tight head actually does. But they get the most money for a reason. And Marcus Street is 25 years old. I mean, if he can stay healthy and we can get a lot of years out of him, he's going to be absolutely pivotal to what we do. Is it only 2 seasons ago we were worried that we couldn't rub 2 props together and we couldn't scrummage for toffees? I don't remember those discussions happening just lately, and yet still someone like Marcus can't get any respect. Well, he'll certainly get plenty here, and if we bang on about it enough, hopefully he'll get some.
You mentioned that tight heads. Their job is to anchor the scrum. I mean, we've had some pretty good tight heads down the years at the club. I mean, I think Cobus Sargi, Patrice Duplessis. I mean, these boys were rocks.
Carlos Nieto,
yeah.
Was Vincent Koch on that side?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, these are a special breed. They just like grunting it out. And, you know, that's what you need. And then you loosehead can do all the fancy stuff that he does, which Rhys is very good at. I mean, he's phenomenally strong. So if he's got someone blocking out on the other side and stopping their loosehead driving forward, suddenly Rhys going forward becomes destructive. And JB George as well, as you know, makes that a huge difference. So, yeah, big up Marcus Street. And as I say, I mean, before he got his injury, it was his shoulder, his elbow injury, I was pumping him for England selection. If he has a good end of the season, he could easily get on that tour in the summer.
Yeah, he's good enough to do that. I'm delighted to hear. I didn't know he was only 25. I mean, that is really good news. As you say, if he can keep the body intact. I mean, who cares what Rugby Pass says? Although I was pleased to see they gave Fergus Burke a good score, and I thought he was excellent.
I'll move into the backs in a minute. I just want to mention another forward, though, before we do that. And when Rugby Pass, they gave Theo McFarland a really good score. And Theo did have a really good game, other than the fact he made 3 uncharacteristic handling errors, which probably should have knocked him down. But the interesting thing was about Theo was Jamie Lyle on commentary saying halfway through the game that Theo's off. Well, no, we haven't heard anything from anybody other source. So if he knows something and he's jumped the gun a little bit, or I know you have theories about how the French deal with things, that they announce things before they're actually even happened, and invariably something else happens. It certainly was Menoncello last year, wasn't it?
They do go early, but I mean, I think he's probably just reflecting loads of rumours that have been around about him going to La Rochelle, and I think it's looking pretty clear that he is going.
You mentioned Fergus Burke, but I think we need to mention the halfbacks in partnership. Charlie Bracken and Fergus Burke were given a platform by the forwards who were beating up Sale for fun, and they used it. I mean, I think when we looked at the England-Scotland game for the women, their ruck average speed was 1.99 seconds or something daft like that. I don't think for 60 minutes we were far off of that against Sale. I mean, okay, Sale were just competing at the breakdown, but you still got our Charlie Bracken getting there at speed, giving Austin Healey the opportunity to have a dig at Kieran as well, which he did do on a couple of occasions on commentary, which is always quite good fun. But I mean, Charlie Bracken's speed of service was phenomenal, and Fergus Burke got an armchair ride, got the brandy out, got the cigar and the slippers, and just enjoyed himself, didn't he?
He really did. Charlie Bracken, it's a different game when he's playing now. The zip he gets on the ball, the spin he gets on the ball, and the pace that we play at. To me, yesterday, and anyone shout and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought he was a player of the match. He gave Fergus the armchair ride, as you say, and Fergus looked really, really good yesterday as well. And that tandem is exciting for the rest of the year. And I hope we stick with that. But Charlie in the side, good things happen. And it's nice, it's quick. Just going back to the Ampthill thing that we were touching on earlier on, and the flow and the pace of the game. The try that Noah handed off to give to Charlie, I thought was probably the nicest team move of the game. And I like seeing that as well from Noah, just going off on a random tangent here. And is that he's not greedy as well. He's a young lad and he's not greedy at all. He gave off the inside ball to Charlie, and Charlie ran it in for a walk-in. But that was a really nice move. Rhys was in that as well, and it was quick, and it was in that flowed. And I'd like to see more of that. But with Charlie in the side, good things happen.
I reckon Ryan Constable maybe will have been sat there applauding that pass back inside Loxley, given that Noah was for the second time has not equalled Ryan's club Premier tie scoring record.
Yes, of course. Jimmy Hadfield's wasn't in a Premiership match, was it? But he did match him for tries. A hooker at that. Yes, I'm sure Ryan clings very jealously to that record. A good old name from the past. The wonderful thing about it, Noah did tone it down a little bit, the antics, the try-scoring celebration, because we've wondered about whether someone had a word in his ear. Although we all know that Eddie Hearn's going to be on the phone to him, isn't he? Because he's going to be the next big thing. He's box office until, oh, blimey, or whatever his name is. Malarkey, was it, you said? I mean, he sounds like he could be...
He's got the name for it.
Certainly has. There was a certain maturity about Noah's performance. We forget he's only just turned 19 years old. And a quick erratum, folks, by the way. Marcus Street turned 27 in February. My apologies. He's still plenty young enough, though. Everything was enjoyable. And I'll tell you what it was, because they had little else to do on the day, the Sale supporters tried to get on his back as well. They started singing and chanting and jeering at him and so forth. And the smile on his face just got wider and wider as they did it. So I thought, oh, right. Eddie Hearn really ought to take him on because he's got the Henry Pollock attitude. He certainly doesn't mind people getting on his case. I mean, apart from their big cheer about Owen Farrell missing his first conversion attempt, I mean, that was their two big moments of the day, really.
I've said it before about Noah Calori. I mean, look, at his current scoring rate against Sale, he'll have beaten the Premiership try-scoring record in 5 seasons just by playing Sale. Steve Cummins in his 3 words review, Sale 33, Noah 50 this season. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I said it before on the Fezcast, I'll say it again. You don't want to put pressure on the lads. Unfortunately, he's putting pressure on himself by being this good. And I have not been as excited by a winger or back player coming on to the stage since 1997, when a certain Mr. Lomu appeared. He has that talent. He's that good. He cannot now not go on that England senior tour in the summer. He has to be picked by England because, I mean, I know everybody says he's age and everything like that, Duncan, but the adage is if you're good enough, you're old enough. And he is more than good enough, and therefore he's old enough.
He's definitely box office. I mean, that try that David got a great photo of, you know, the real air Calori try, just extraordinary. And it's the sort of thing that just gets people off their backsides and want to watch rugby. If I may just return to Fergus Burke for a minute, I agree with what everybody said about Charlie Bracken. He was fantastic. But that combination is great also because of Fergus's speed. His speed of thought and his speed of foot as well. The try that he scored was down to fleetness of foot on his part. And, you know, we're not surprised by it. And it may be because we were taking the foot off the accelerator a little bit. But the game really slowed down when it was Ivan Van Zyl and Owen Farrell. Just a sign that that combination of Charlie Bracken and Fergus Burke is quick.
Charlie's kicking was, the hang time he was getting was really, really good. But I wonder if we were up by what we were, if we were down by what we were, if we were level, regardless, Ivan was coming on. There was no need to take Charlie off there.
I'll say from pitch side, Charlie was blowing through his backside by the time he came off. He'd given it all.
Fair.
Because unfortunately, I was close enough to see it. But no, I think he was quite pleased to come off when he did.
Fair enough. We talked about all of this pace. And, you know, we're giving players like Nick Tompkins, Owen Farrell, Ivan Van Zyl a little bit of, you know, I think one of the 3-word reviews was changing of the guard. There is an element of that. However, I do still feel that there's a balance to be had. And Nick Tompkins, who's not the paciest player, and he'll be the first person to say that, you know, out of everybody on that back 3-quarter line, he's the slowest. But you still need that organised. You still need that pivot play. You still need that solid dependability there that leads the defensive line. And because you had Nick Tompkins there, and if it wasn't Nick Tompkins, then it would have been Alex Lozowski or it would have been Owen Farrell. You'd have that person, because the one thing that Fergus Burke has improved immeasurably this season, I think, and he wasn't bad to start with, but his defence was superb. And I think a lot of that comes from, if you've got somebody outside who's organising it, telling you where you need to be. So you're not, you watch George Ford, how many times did George Ford find himself with a soft arm one way or the other? And it was almost like he was being a matador with balls running at him and just getting the cape out of the way and then not being able to finish the ball off afterwards because he was being trampled on. Fergus, in defence, was able to concentrate on just making his tackles because there was somebody else organising it for him. And until he learns that side of it, you will need an Owen Farrell or a Nick Tompkins or an Alex Lozowski type of player in that backline just to give that stability.
Yeah, I agree. And he also plays very well with Ollie Hartley, I'm sure we'll get on to, who had an exceptionally good game himself. Nick and Ollie do work very well as a pairing. I mean, there's a fundamental that we mustn't forget about Fergus. He can actually tackle.
Yeah.
You know, he's a good, solid... It took me back to the days of Glenn Jackson. He was very solid in defence, you know, another New Zealand-born fellow. And I actually feel that Fergus enjoys his defensive work. He seems to get a bit of a kick out of it. The other thing is, with his pace, the defence can't commit. They have to hold off to see whether he's going to break or not. And I think he creates a lot more space than Owen does when he's playing at fly half. So Fergus, the place kicking's improving, but it wasn't under any particular pressure, to be quite honest. Some of my favourite kickers haven't been the greatest kickers in clutch. The aforementioned Glenn Jackson got mountains of points, but he wasn't always great in clutch. Charlie Hodgson did, but he had his moments. Owen Farrell obviously has got the record to back it all up. But Fergus Burke is getting there. And I think at similar stages of the career, if we look at Owen's kicking round about then, it's not too dissimilar. And I do think that Fergus Burke's the man. You go forward with him, you back him, and we do love pace. We've been banging on about it for weeks, and he's got it.
Talking about Fergus Burke's kicking, there was one fascinating penalty when, had it been Owen Farrell, it was nailed on to be right in the corner, and it hardly went forward at all. But it then led to quite clearly a pre-prepared play that saw Rhys Carre over the line, and I wondered whether it was deliberately short so that they could play that rehearsed play.
There was a moment when we saw Mark McCall on the sideline. And clearly Mark, I think, has probably gone, sod it. I've got 6 games left this season. Let's go and have some fun. And there is an element of practicality involved in it. But he knows we've got, now 5 cup finals. If we can get 25 points from those 5 games, which is a big, tall order, but it's not impossible, we could still be in with a chance of the playoffs. Now, the percentage likelihood of that, and it could go completely and utterly wrong on the weekend against Tigers. And, we got Bristol Bears and Exeter Chiefs away, Gloucester and Harlequins at home. But we could still be in there. And I think the way that we decided to do it is to say, well, we've got nothing to lose. And I think this performance, Sam, showed a team with the pressure valve completely and utterly removed and said, go out and play. And let's hope that they continue doing that, because I don't to think that we played like this for 4 games and got 20 points out and then went into extra Chiefs thinking, oh, crikey, we just got to win or something. And the pressure valve goes back on. Because if we do that and then do get the playoffs and you've got an away match at Northampton Saints or Bath, I don't think any team watching the way that Saracens played yesterday would want to play Saracens in that sort of mood.
It's 5 cup finals. The pressure's off. That could be dangerous, and we could upset a few people's seasons. To me, Saturday's against Leicester is a real big game for me. I think if we win that and we take the 5 points, then all bets are off. We're going to upset someone's season or someone's playoff hopes. You think Bristol might do a Bristol, and when it gets to the business end of the season, they start to fade. If we can get through Saturday...
You're all deluded.
Well, we'll come to the man before the game was pretty adamant we weren't making the playoffs. I mean, are you a little bit more confident, Loxy, or are you still Debbie Downer on this one?
No, we're not going to make the playoffs. It's a nonsense. But I do think it will enable us to play really good rugby with the pressure off. And thank you for pinching my pressure valve thing from the piece I wrote. I take that as a huge compliment. I would like to say something about Mark, though, if I may, because I was standing very close. In fact, you've probably seen the photo I took of him. When we were 38-0, there was a certain amount of pressure. It's one of the few moments the Sale got any pressure on in the first half. And when we successfully defended 3 phases, Mark was jumping up and down going, yes, yes, yes. Absolutely, with his face contorted. And I thought, wow, it was that they managed to defend 3 phases when they were 38-0 up with half time approaching. That intensity, it still matters a great deal to him. So it'd be lovely to see him take that into his consulting role when he's finished with this particular season. And I am quite happy for people to give me all the amount of shade they want when we make the playoffs.
I'm an eternal optimist, so there we are. So
my glass is empty, but it'll be filled up again with another one. So, I mean, that's the way I look at it. This is perhaps the heart lead in the head. If we do get into the playoffs, it'll be up there with West Ham this season. In 2 weeks' time, beating Arsenal's ruin their Premier League and putting Tottenham down. I mean, I'm not sure what would be the greatest thing at the moment, really, to be perfectly honest with you. But we said it last week, didn't we, Duncan? When we mentioned Rhys Carre, who I'm going to be talking to tomorrow, he plays with a smile on his face. I saw every single player in that 23 on the weekend, and the coaching staff sat there, not only Mark McCall, but Joe and Rob and Dan Vickers and all the rest of them. They had smiles on their face. They enjoyed it. And they enjoyed it as much as Alex Sanderson clearly didn't, because, I mean, he looked like a man that looked like Mark McCall 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, after the game, you had to feel sorry for Alex Anderson. I mean, he was clearly dying inside with shame and saying and feeling quite rightly in a way that he'd failed, because he was saying, I clearly did not know how to motivate them. And it was a few weeks ago when someone said to Chris Ashton, don't you feel like you want to still be playing? And he said, no, it hurts. And I think with rugby players in this situation who put up the fight that Saracens are putting up, you have to give them all the credit, because, yes, you could see it with Sale dropping off tackles because it hurts. And if you haven't got that motivation, then you can't play this game.
And likewise, it's going into those contacts.
It's to be commended, because we could have dialed it in as well. We're kind of in no man's land at the moment, aren't we, in 6? But we've decided to give it a go and let's make a fist of it and let's see what we can do. It's probably going to be game over after round 1, but let's just see. They played freely yesterday and they played with initiative and a bit of a spark. That first half, I still thought we were getting in each other's way at times, but it seemed to loosen up a little bit more in the second half. It's a team that has got nothing to lose and everything to gain. That's a dangerous thing. And, you know, we've got more than enough talent there to upset someone's season. Let's give it a go.
I suppose the only thing to say, and we'll say this in conclusion on this section, Loxley, is that the games that we've won this year, and we've won an awful lot of games quite handsomely, they've all been against teams below us. We haven't beat the team that's above us. And indeed, we also got beat by Quins, which is going to stick in the craw for a long time. Over the Bristol Bears, I think we did beat Bristol Bears, didn't we, earlier on in the season, which is the only other game that we've won against a team higher than us. So that perhaps does tell its own story, and perhaps Leicester Tigers on the weekend is going to be the real litmus paper game.
Yeah, I think it is. But I mean, we talked about Max Malins earlier, didn't we? And along with everybody else, he was great, and it was nice to see. I expected George Ford to kick the ball in the air and move him about like Marcus Smith did up at the Stoop. And there was absolutely no attempt to do that at any point. But you can bet your money that Tigers will do it. And we'll see how Max really is in the position when he's been tested. On the other hand, we've got close. And of course, this has been the problem, hasn't it? We've got close to winning and we haven't won. But the pressure's off now. So maybe we can convert those last 10, 15 minutes in a way that we haven't done. And Leicester Tigers are an extremely good side. If it's a case that either Northampton or Bath end up with Tigers visiting them, they'll do it with some trepidation, I think, because Tigers are an exceptionally good side and they actually acquitted themselves very well in the last final. People tend to forget that.
Chris Duncan in the 3-word review said, best of worst. In other words, we're the best of the worst teams. Even if we don't make the playoffs, the challenge for the rest of the season is to not be best of the worst, but be up there with the best.
That we wanted to see that fight. We wanted to see that commitment. We wanted to see the effort. It was there yesterday, and let's see if it keeps going. I'm sure it's going to now.
Well, look, I'm going to probably find that out tomorrow, which is yesterday, if you're listening to us on the Fezcast. Because I'll say thank you, Duncan, thank you, Sam, and thank you, Loxley, for your contributions on the Fezcast. And I'm going to come back and I'll be chatting at Old Albanians Rugby Club with the superstar of the game, the fastest prop in the world, Rhys Carre.
Hi, this is Petrus Duplessis, and you are listening to the Fezcast.
This is the Fezcast.
Joining me at Old Albanians after training is, well, Wales's fastest winger, top try scorer, and an absolute club legend now, Rhys Carre. Rhys, welcome to the Fezcast.
Thank you.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. Nice light day today in Braden, so perfect day to job on.
After the performance on the weekend, I mean, everybody's obviously on a bit of a high after that. I mean, how does it feel putting a team like that to the sword?
Yeah, obviously we've had a few tough results in the last couple of games, so it was nice to get on the right side of it, and obviously doing it quite convincingly as well was pretty good.
And you're continuing your try scoring exploits as well?
Yeah, like Di's given me a few things I can sort of help the team towards and get my hands on the ball a bit more, so which is improving my game and helping me get closer to the line.
We're talking about, the last 5-6 games of the season now. Well, let's say the last 7 games of the season, because there's a semi-final and a final still to potentially be there. I mean, is the belief in the squad and the club still there that we can get something out of this season?
Yeah, 100%. Like, every game, we feel every game is a final now. And like you said, we've got 7 finals in a row before we lift the trophy at the end of the year. So, taking it obviously one game at a time, but we're viewing it as this is a must win. Every game's a must win now. So it's almost relieving the fact that it's like, go out there, give everything, got to win.
It seems to be that we've said on the Fezcast for quite some time that you're a player who plays with a smile on his face. And it seems to be pervading through the team now that, a bit of pressure's off. Perhaps the expectation of getting to the playoffs isn't there as it's been in previous years. So pressure's off and you're enjoying your rugby. Is that what the attitude is at the moment?
Yeah, like I've always tried to enjoy it as much as I can on the pitch. You spend most of your week training for it. So the 50-odd minutes I'd get on the weekend, that's the time I get to enjoy myself and express myself. And yeah, I think there's always pressure on us. We're a team that want to win things. And obviously top 4 for us is minimum requirements. So we've got a job to do the next 3 games to make sure we get there.
Well, fantastic to hear that. Now, I'm going to take you back a little way. I mean, you obviously had one spell at Saracens. We remember the red card you got in the league game, which was kind of the... Went back off to Wales, and then obviously you're back here at Saracens. You did an interview with the BBC. This is less of a question, more of an observation, really, that at the start of that, where you talked about the time when you weren't being picked for Wales, for whatever reasons. And what kept you going was the thought of coming back to Saracens. And for us as fans, hearing players who want to play for the club that badly, as it were, is a huge thing, because that's the sort of player that we want to see every week. I mean, how important was it coming back to the club for you?
Yeah, obviously I joined here when I was 21, I believe, and the season was cut short through COVID and obviously what went on with the salary cap, so I ended up going back to Wales after COVID. But obviously things didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to then. Like, I remembered how well I was treated the first I was here, how everyone was treated, the standards that were set, the culture. And I just wanted a bit of that. I think I remember when I left, I told my agent, I'm like, I want to go back one day. And as soon as I made my mind up that I was going to leave Wales, this was the first place I said, look, get in touch with them, see if they're interested. So I'd love to go back.
So when you came back to Saracens, was that you turning around and saying, well, obviously my international career's over as it stood at that time. Just want to play rugby, be part of a family, be part of a great culture. But then a change of coaching at Wales and you're back in the fold. It's all linked, isn't it?
So obviously at the time, I probably wasn't enjoying my rugby as much. In Wales, it was pretty evident that I was going to be part of their plans going forward. So I wanted to sort of get out and have a fresh start. And I sort of knew how well this place treats their players. And I thought this is going to be the right place for me to get my head back on enjoying rugby again.
How much did it hurt that whole time when you were being singled out as not reaching the parameters that were needed? Everybody talks about data, statistics and everything. At the end of the day, ability is the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it is what it is. Like, what's happened, and it's made me the player that I am today. I've learned from that and I've taken it on board. Like, it's not a one-way street. Like, we had our disagreements, but there was a common ground that could have been found, but it wasn't. So I made a correct choice. Now, looking back at it, to come here and I've become a much better player now I'm here.
We certainly see that. I mean, a question from Matt, one of my cohorts on there, is, he does want to know how many bowls of sugar puffs do you have a day? What is a prop forward's intake like?
I'm not a breakfast person, so would rarely have breakfast, maybe a piece of toast. And then lunch and dinner, whatever dinner may be, wherever I decide what I want to make or whatever. Yeah, like, it's not the fanciest diet in the world. It's probably not the best diet in the world either, but it works for me at the moment, and as long as I keep the weight at what it is, that's all that matters.
I mean, that's good answers anyway. And Matt, I think that's keep your nose out of Reese's dietary requirements. But Let's have a quick talk about the Six Nations because, I mean, it was a huge breakout tournament for you, wasn't it? I mean, you in most people's team of the tournament, 3 tries, including a fabulous one against Ireland, where, you know, you've become an internet sensation. I mean, you're a humble guy, obviously, but, I mean, how does that sit with you, the attention you've had since then?
Yeah, I think it's the first time in an international scene that a coach has probably backed me and give me a run of games, and I just grew into it and got more confident as I went. And not yet, that try was obviously decent, but it was just not a fluke, but just happened to happen more than really anything anyone did. But it was more the confidence that Steve and the rest of the coaching staff and the S6E staff gave me to go out there and perform and believed in me. And I'm just glad that I could help my team. Obviously, we got a win at the end, and our performances got better gradually as the Six Nations went on.
Well, it's obviously important for the Six Nations that we do have a strong Wales. I mean, not so strong that you beat England, obviously, being an English supporter, but Wales definitely seem to be going in the right direction.
Yeah, obviously it's been a tough few years, and we're not happy where we are in the world standings. We're not happy with the result where the results have been, but the performances have shown that they're getting better, which is what we can do as players, and hopefully we start winning again. And then once you just get a few wins, and that builds momentum and builds confidence, and then you can add on to that.
Well, good luck for that, Rhys. Well, I'm going to ask you now about actually playing the game, and who's the hardest opponent you've ever come up against as a prop?
I always get asked this. I always come back to the same answer, be Vincent Koch. I obviously played with him here, played against him for Wales against South Africa before I came here, and just a real powerful man, tough opponent, and he was very good at what he did, and he was great for his club as well.
He was a great player, absolutely, 100%. You're a loosehead, but the importance to a loosehead of having a great tight head partner is big, isn't it? And we've noticed that you've been playing a lot with Marcus Street, who hasn't been getting the credit, we don't think. We saw the Rugby Pass scores from the game on the weekend, and he got, I think, 6.5. I'm thinking, did they watch the same game as us? Marcus has really blossomed this season, hasn't he? And become a rock, which allows you to do your destructive work at loosehead, doesn't it?
Yeah, like we got loads of tight heads here. We got obviously Marcus, we got Marco, who was on the bench. You got TT, Alec, Harvey. Right, we've got a great group of tight heads here, and I think the fact that we've got so many drives them and pushes them, and that there's healthy competition week to week, and boys are pushing us in training, and when we go to live units and stuff, and like I think Marco started off the year great, and I think he got injured, and Street, he's taken his opportunity, and he's playing really well for us. He's been solid at scrum time for us, which has given me and Aroni like a great platform to attack off.
How do you attack off of loosehead then? Just without giving us everything, all your secrets away, what is your primary focus when you hit that scrum, that first scrum?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just trying to work my head under the chest and wait for my tight head to take it the first step forward. And once he gives me that, I've got free license to just go for it, really, and just use my size as a weapon.
Referees penalise you, and then they talk about the picture that you want to place. On the weekend, we saw that, we got on the right side of Christoph Ridley. So nowhere near. They couldn't do anything. And you've seen it in other games where you've been penalised, and you think, well, why can't you change it? How do you get a referee on side if you've been penalised? What do you change?
It's tough. Yeah, it's all momentum based. Whose ball it is. If you got 2 or 3 good scrums in a row, then you've already planted a picture in their mind that you're dominant. So then any 50-50s tends to go your way because you've earned that in the game. We've been working all year, and I think we've got the cleanest scrum of anyone this season. And we've been working all year to give the refs that picture. So I think now they know that obviously we're pretty clean, and we could be dominant now as well.
Well, it's great. I mean, obviously, when you've got someone like Jamie George in the middle of you all, who has these little chats with the referees and always gets them on side, I mean, that must be a pleasure to play with Jamie.
Obviously, he's so experienced, such a legend of the game. Makes our lives easier because he just tells them what to do and just do it. No, but it's great because he leads from the front, like you say. He's having these conversations. He you hear him chatting to the ref, you don't hear what he says to us, and it just makes our lives easier.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Away from rugby, I'm not going to mention what Dan Vick has told me to ask you because of those. But I mean, how do you relax after you finish this interview today? Maybe do a little bit of something here, but then you go home. What do you do to relax?
Not a lot, really. Probably get home 3, 4, chill for a bit, make some food, go to recovery suites there in Nuffield, get a sauna in, maybe get a bit of mobility in the pool in, or some nights, or just go to bed, really. Not a lot. Golf in the summer, I enjoy my golf, but yeah, not a lot, to be honest.
I mean, obviously, this summer you could be away with Wales, obviously, so you take your clubs with you if you go on tour?
No, you got Argentina and then straight to South Africa, so no, there won't be a lot of golf play there. It'd be more the few weeks off we get afterwards.
Lastly, what I was going to ask you, I mean, have you got a message for the fans? As I say, going into the tail end of the season, what would you like? This is your opportunity to say something to our listenership and the fans of Saracens Rugby Club.
Yeah, like I said, it's a final for us now, so every bit of noise and every bit of energy you can get behind the boys is going to help us massively. It'd be that 16th man for us.
Well, thank you very much, Rhys, and thank you for your time. And from the Fezcast, I say wish you the best of luck, and also obviously if you could pass on our best wishes to the rest of the boys and everything, and look forward to, hopefully seeing you in the final at the end of the year, but definitely going on from strength to strength this season and future seasons in the black shirt.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, Rhys. And that's it for this week on the Fezcast. Thank you everybody for listening in. Thank you to Loxie, Duncan and Sam for their input earlier on, and we'll see you next week for your next edition of the Fezcast. Hopefully hearing about a big win against Tigers.
This is the Fezcast.